And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. It's Friday, third hour. It's time for What Just Happened. And oh my God, what just happened was the Democratic National Convention. We have three great people who were there or activists covering it, doing things. I don't even know. Lizz Winstead, comedian, co-creator of The Daily Show, activist, creator of Abortion Access Front and the Feminist Podcast, Feminist Buzzkills Live podcast, and a friend of Tim Walz, apparently. I think I saw some post. That's true. Yes. Okay. We'll talk later. Also, V Spehar is back. Journalist was at the convention. I saw interviewing people. Under the Desk News has more than 3 million followers on TikTok. And then we got my buddy Pete Dominick, radio host, comedian. You've got to subscribe to Stand Up with Pete Dominick at standupwithpete.com. And I only have this radio show because of Pete Dominick. I have to say that, trademark pending. That's sort of the rule. Every time Pete comes on, I must say. The only reason I have this. All right. So let me see. I'm not kidding. Pete's in a lobby in a hotel. V is in a hotel room.
I'm in an Airbnb.
And you're there. You were at the convention too. Everyone went to the convention.
Well, I didn't go to the convention. Heaven forbid.
You went around. You were doing activism in the area, correct? So let's go through. What were you doing there? Let's share a little bit. Then we'll talk about the news. Like, what were you doing?
So I was there with my crew from Abortion Access Front, and we wanted to really help Democrats get a knowledge about how to talk about medication abortion, because a lot of people, abortion's on the ballot, but so many people are woefully ignorant about what it is and maybe don't know how to defend it. By just saying I support, expanding abortion access isn't enough. You have to be able to say what it is and why you do. So what we did was we created a pop group that were in giant inflatable abortion pill costumes. When you take medication abortion, you take one pill called mifepristone, and then 24 to 48 hours later, you take 4 other pills called misoprostol. So what we did was we looked like the Supremes in these big, gigantic pill costumes. We called our band Miffy and the Misotones. We took the song I'm Just a Bill, changed it to I'm Just a Pill, sang it with backing vocals and everything and dancing. And then we passed out information. We were in the lines of people getting into the convention. We did a show. We were going through the hotel lobbies where the delegates were. We were just like in the streets. We were in a march. If you just Google dancing abortion pills, DNC, you'll see us.
Dancing abortion pills. Yeah. V, can you beat that?
No, not at all. No.
So V, what did you do? You interviewed people. You were there in the convention.
I was inside, locked up in the creators perch on the 8th floor, and I did the live stream every day for the DNC from 4 to about 6:30, and we had a new guest every 5 minutes. So we interviewed some of the celebrities that were there, politicians that were there, other creators that were there, answered questions for some of the other. There was a bunch of young creators who really didn't know much about politics yet, but by the end of the DNC, were really fired up to activate for Harris Walz and for their reproductive freedoms and gay rights. And it was a blast. It was an
Any people stand out? Any people that you interviewed? We'll talk about the convention, but anything the people you talked to stand out?
Definitely the standout was Rua Roman, who is a Palestinian American.
Yes, very good. I know her.
She was incredible. She's an elected official down in Georgia. She actually flipped a red seat at the state level to blue. And we were hoping that she was going to get on stage to give her speech, but it was unclear if they were going to be able to make that happen. So we had her on the live stream, and she was able to spend about 10 minutes with us talking about all kinds of things. The thing that I took away from it that I really appreciated from her was she was saying, please don't use the pain of Palestinian people to justify your quest to get folks not to vote. We are not about not voting. We're about voting. We just want Kamala Harris to commit to a ceasefire, to commit to an arms embargo. But make no mistake, she's our girl. We understand what the complications and what the devastation would be with Trump. And so I think she cleared up the uncommitted movement for a lot of folks. She gave people a lot of help. And I think she allowed people to feel included in the Palestinian liberation movement in a way that maybe they were too afraid to join before. They didn't understand before. And so Rua was definitely my standout guest of the whole week.
And Pete, I view you as the Yasser Arafat of the Palestinian liberation movement today, the modern era. So no, look at you, Pete, with the beard and everything. You look like all we need is like the kafia. And
I left my
Arab, by the way.
I am. I'm Lebanese,
Yeah.
and my brother served on a Red Crescent Palestinian ambulance in the West Bank in 2001, and I've been connected to the Palestinian people and their plight through you and Maysoon and so many others forever. I care a lot about it, but I was mostly focused on my demonstration countering abortion access front. I dressed as a penis and I sat in a dunk tank, which required no costume.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Just was you. And how did it go? Did a lot of Republicans show up, or
There was a lot of
Matt Walz
pro-choice.
show up from Daily Wire, that jackass who was dressed up like Donald Trump Jr.?
Well, he's actually who sent me, but he paid so well. I just gave up on all my
Pete,
ideals.
Pete, now you've given us an idea to like literally make heavy abortion pill weighted things to throw at the target to dunk. We've done this actually. Our friend John Fugelsang and our friend Frank Conniff, we did a fundraiser where we had men who were really supportive of us were reading the horrible tweets that were sent to feminists, and then people could throw the thing and then dunk them. And it was so fun. I think we need to bring it back, but have it be abortion pills and, just going at it. So good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Pete. Very good.
Whatever.
So I'm sorry, Pete. But you were at the convention, Pete, right?
No, I had a lot of FOMO. I had some personal stuff going on. I could not go. I really wish I could have been. I've been at the last RNC and DNCs for the last two cycles, both 2012 and 2016, the nightmare that was. And so I definitely missed out. But I talk to people every day on my podcast. I talked to two people from there. So go ahead. Take it over, Dane.
No. So you're at a hotel now because you're on the run. Like you're a fugitive. Like I didn't know that. I thought you were at the convention, but Pete Dominick is on the lam, folks, hiding in some Holiday Inn or Motel 6 or something really fitting.
I'm at an NA convention, but I'm not an addict. I just love these people.
That's why I don't know if you're kidding or not. There's someone just ran by. All right. So Liz, did you watch any of the convention? Did anything stand out for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I watched at night, of course, with everyone. I think what stood out, there's a lot of things I have to say too, as a point of personal pride, I helped Keith Ellison with his speech. So I got
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a very good speech.
Oh,
Keith was on my show right before he went on the stage.
Yes. I wrote some stuff for him, which was really cool. And like you said, Governor Tim Walz, I mean, when this happened, I just have to let your listeners know, like, I know you're seeing all these videos and all this stuff. This dude, this is it. Like there is not a single shred of made up orchestrated dude. This is the dude. And
I wrote his speech.
You did?
Write his speech.
So I mean, Tim, his family, for people to know his family, when you get to know his wife, Gwen, you're going to be like, are you kidding me? Dude is like, so for me, Wednesday was everything. I was like Team Wednesday all day. So build a walls. That's the shirt. I'm really clear eyes, full hearts, can't choose. I made that shirt. I'm like in it. Yes.
The kids were making
walls.
Okay, the kids were making friendship bracelets, and this is my favorite, balls to the walls.
And I am not like because the last time we had all of this sport ball stuff was Jack Kemp. Remember, back in the day for your listeners, it was just constantly. But I really am enjoying these sport ball analogies because it is, he just doesn't know how else to be, creating community and teamwork, and like people don't he's just the best. So Tim Walz all day. I'll shut up.
That's excellent. By the way, Republicans just came out with a statement saying he didn't really do a 4-4 defense when he was a coach. It was really something like a 3-1-4. So like he doesn't find anything. He didn't really coach the track and field. It was just the track part, not the field part. He's unbelievable that he would say track and field. What's going on? So V, what about you from the speakers, not the people you interviewed, from the speakers? Anything stand out to you? And was there a message that you think that voters, that's the goal? Like, this is really an argument to the American people. As I come at it from like a lawyer point of view, they're making an opening and closing argument to the American people to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Was there one? Did you take one away from this?
Yeah, I think that they presented themselves as safe adults in the room. They presented themselves as having a case for America. We definitely reclaimed a lot of things that Republicans have appropriated or commandeered. So all I wanted was to take a picture with Tim Walz. I was like, I will do anything that you guys want, but I just want a picture with Tim Walz in my little camo outfit. And they were like, okay. And so they were going to make it happen. And then trad media was so all over me because New York Times or somebody started a rumor that I got the exclusive interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and it was going to be on TikTok instead of in the newspapers. So they were hunting me down. It didn't happen. That wasn't true. So
Oh,
I was trying to take this picture with him.
started
All
that.
I
I'm
wanted was a
sorry.
picture. And they were
I
like, you
should
can't take a
apologize.
picture with him because then that's going to fuel all these rumors again. It's going to be bad. And his camp was like, let the fucking kid take a picture. Okay. Just don't say anything. Don't talk. He's not going to talk. Let her take the picture. She wore the little camo outfit. And I thought that was so, I'm 41, but I thought that was like so cute.
You're still a kid to
Did you
us.
get the
I'm still a kid
picture?
I got the picture.
You
Yes, so they
did.
let-
Where's the
yes.
picture?
It's coming out. So they let me take a picture with him, but they were like, you can't talk. Okay, no interviews. And I was like, I will not, of course.
Not even a word?
No, it's a group picture. He gave us a little pep talk, and then there was like maybe 10 of us that he took a picture with. And then he told me that he liked my outfit, and I nodded because again, I am
Not
nothing
allowed
if
to
not a
speak.
rule follower. I did not speak. And maybe he thinks I don't talk, but he was very lovely.
Like that
That was
weird
a
person.
highlight
Like,
for me. But overall, I think definitely it was about showing one for the Gen Z kids who are going to vote on vibes. The vibes were high. We've got them. That's done. We have the bracelets. We got the merch. We got the don't vote weird sweatshirts. They were giving out Plan B and birth control and condoms at the Hotties for Harris party. It was incredible, right? There was all the vibes were high. The music was great. Perfect. And then I think when it comes to the folks who don't know Kamala Harris, this was an incredible introduction. She has friends. She has family. She is loved. She loves people. She's a whole person with a whole ecosphere that surrounds her. And she said, Ella Emhoff said, she always listens to me and she'll listen to all of us. And that's what I took away from this. She's a person who listens. She created space for the uncommitted movement as much as she could within what was already planned. And even the uncommitted movement in the Palestinian protester, people were like, we of course want more, but we really do feel seen and included. So I think she nailed it.
Pete, with you, did you get a complimentary breakfast at the hotel you're at? Because I'm trying to figure out what kind of place this is.
They gave me a half a muffin. It's a micro. It's a microtel. It's not a highest class place.
So Pete, I don't know if you have TV privileges at this place. Could you watch the convention?
I love it. I sometimes I tried to teach you to do radio, which was tell people don't you just constantly referring to my picture. Nobody sees this. It's just
it's
you.
true. You're
so
right.
excited.
It is radio. Damn it. All right, people. Because I post.
Is he teaching you to do radio with your fist in front of your face?
Yeah, Pete's,
I feel like that's not exactly how you do radio.
He teaches. He doesn't
I
do.
think you ought to
Now,
be a
Liz.
broadcaster, so please do this a
Liz,
lot.
did you watch anything at all in between your personal issues, whatever was going on?
I loved it. I watched every night. I watched as much as I could. I thought it was just an amazing thing for America. I mean, everybody is so positive and inspired in a way that we haven't seen for a long time. My favorite line from Michelle Obama's speech was "Hope is making a comeback." My favorite line overall was Michigan Attorney General and well-known gay person Dana Nessel, who said at the end of her speech, in reference to Project 2025, they're going to have to pull my wedding ring off my gay dead hand, and I may have ruined it, but obviously referring to Charleston Heston's infamous gun. And I just thought those are two of my favorite lines. But the fact that Kamala Harris said the words Palestinian people for the first time at any DNC by a nominee, at least, I think was massive. And I used to be a much more kind of impatient person, but mentors like Lizz Winstead told me we make progress in increments. We don't give up. We don't always get everything that we want. And, I think that we have gotten so much and we've gotten so far. And I'm very, very excited about this new crop of Democrats that are young, that are diverse in every way. And the olds, I'm a bit of an ageist. I'm all for this.
And by the way, just to touch on Pete said, Kamala Harris said she had several lines with the Palestinians. It was one of the biggest applause lines, according to the Washington Post, in the speech. I mean, when she came out and it ended and all that. But I went back and looked at all the DNC speeches of presidential Democratic candidates accepting their nomination. Only one said the word Palestine, 1996, Bill Clinton. And he said peace for Palestinians and Israelis. That's it. No one went into humanity, self-determination, dignity like she did. Many speeches, they mentioned Israel, but that was security of Israel, period. So I think the Democratic base has changed where it could be security of Israel, but there's got to be plus.
I don't know. It felt it was
people.
so loud. It was so loud. It made me feel like it was anti-Semitic. I'm joking.
Liz, were you going to say something?
I mean, look, not to be the naysayer here, but the amount of time that was spent on making sure everybody knows we're going to keep militarizing Israel and making sure that Israel knows it's loved. It is loved. We love Israel. It's fine. But to call what is happening the suffering of the Palestinians, I needed to have I felt like there needed to be stronger language, because why can't we say, if Israel's our friend, when our friends are doing something that is wholly not humanitarian, we need to hold them accountable, and our tax dollars shouldn't pay for it. I'm sorry, our tax dollars should not pay for weapons of war that are being waged and slaughtering people in the way that they are. Maybe they can't say genocide. Maybe I'm politically naive. I know that what somebody has to do in that position, but I do feel like there could have been language that recognized that our friend is doing terrible things to the
Our
people.
friends, and
And
by the way,
the suffering, like we don't know where the sufferings come from. Like,
right,
oh,
and
where's
that's a point.
suffering coming from?
It's interesting. Can I just say a quick thing, and we'll go to V? Being a Palestinian heritage, that we've been so ignored, demonized, and dehumanized, that for me, as someone who's older, that's seen it a long time, I'm like, look where we are on this trajectory. And it only happened because the base made it happen. The uncommitted movement, people who outside of our community, African Americans, young people, stood for us and changed it. So the base is moving in this direction. And that will mean policy has to change. I want to see policy change. Did I want a Palestinian speaker at the convention? Yeah, but if that was window dressing and no policy change, meaningless. So to me, what Vice President Harris did deserves applause for that. Yeah, and you're right. The word you're saying, what you're saying, Liz, people in my community online have said that, but others have also, who are older, said, but this is a big move in the right direction. Right. So it's going to be backed by policy. We have to have our win. It's going to be backed by policy, because for me, all of this is about my family. I don't want my family's land taken. I don't want them killed in the West Bank by extreme settlers. I don't want my friend's family killed in Gaza anymore. And we actually have a law, the Foreign Security Assistance Act, which requires us to ban giving weapons to countries if they're using in violation of international law. I wrote it for MSNBC 3 days ago. I just want American law applied. I'm not asking for special law. This is the law. And Bernie Sanders wanted it. And Chris Van Hollen and Liz Warren all came out saying, we want this law applied against Israel. I just don't want any exceptions for them.
Okay,
That's the same way. So V,
here's the thing. Biden is still the president, and Biden is a fervent Zionist, and she had to walk on eggshells. And this is what the conversation was up in the creator suite and like around the campaign stuff. They were nail biting her speech to see if they had pushed it all the way up to as far as they could go, even using words like Palestinian self-determination, dignity, all those words. That went right up to the line of where it would start to impose upon, what Biden's doing and look like in her role as vice president, which, a lot of these people still see her as she is the vice president.
Right.
He is the president. He's a Zionist president who just wants to do all this stuff for Israel. Right. So I think what she tried to do was show that there is a window to give me 74 days. Let me just get this man off my back. Let's stop walking on eggshells. As soon as I'm president, you're going to see even more of me going in this direction. But right now, dad's in the next room and we have to be quiet.
And I think that's also fair. I feel almost like I get everything everybody's saying. If there was somebody Palestinian on stage who could speak to what that is like to be in there, right? To understand what it's like to have family there, what they're living, even taking the thing, like, this is what we are experiencing in Palestine. This is what we're experiencing. Things that maybe Vice President Harris couldn't say. I guess I just really got hit by, it felt super, what's the word when you de-emphasize something, or you like suffering?
Sanitized.
Suffering. My ankles are suffering from walking for 5 days. It's like,
right.
There's more going on than just suffering. And but I hear what you're saying, if the language they could use, they brought up right up. But the acknowledgement for me that just stronger language. I just needed to hear
Sure.
stronger
They
language.
could have just and imagery would have been amazing. This was never going to happen, but the videos were so slick, and you could have easily flown a drone through Gaza to show just the destruction, just the scale of destruction. Just fly a camera through there and throw that up as one of your videos at some point during the DNC with some voiceovers, but that was never going to happen.
You have a DJ
or,
playing something
we
fun.
won't look away and we won't support. I just want us to stop funding I just want to stop funding it.
And that's look, it's a great point.
Path to that.
Yeah.
Right. So I really appreciate all of your concern on it, and it really means a lot to each of us individually, but also being a Palestinian heritage. It means a lot. And so I'm chatting with Lizz Winstead, Spehar, and Pete Dominick. So let's change gears for a second. So after Harris's speech, Donald Trump gets on the phone, calls Fox News, and gets upset with Martha McCullum, one of the hosts, who said that Harris, quote, huge appeal and momentum. And Trump protested, no, she's not having success. I'm having success. It's only in your eyes that they have that, Martha. And I'm like, he's just spinning. I love this. There's a level of joy I get in his. So Pete, what is your, are you enjoying this? Is Trump last night posted, where's Hunter? Like literally has stuff lined up that as if Joe Biden was the candidate. He literally put on Twitter or whatever, Truth Social, whites only that I call it, his platform. Where's Hunter?
He's glitching. He's glitching because he never ever in his life thought that he would have to face a woman on an equal playing field, and he certainly never thought he would ever have to dignify eye contact with a black woman at his level. Now he's going to have to debate her, and he is glitching. He cannot deal with the fact that he is up against a woman and that she is thumping him every single day. He can't deal with the fact that his vice presidential candidate is such an unbelievable loser. Every day he's a loser. If he's not doing a loser thing in person, you find a loser thing he did in the past. Even yesterday, social media was dominated by his haircut. He's such an idiot. And so Trump is just glitching. He's never been here. He has no idea what to do. And it is wonderful to watch. My favorite moment was when he went on Truth Social and started talking about how great Kamala looked when Kerry Washington was on stage. I made that up.
You made that up. Very good. So V, what about the fact the Obamas used humor to go after Trump in a bunch of things? And we know that Donald Trump didn't even go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner because he doesn't like to be mocked. This is a guy who sued Bill Maher over a joke, who called for Saturday Night Live to be canceled.
They all sue Bill Maher.
Right. Well, Bill Maher deserves to be sued. That's a different thing. Like I'm on team. I might be on Team Trump on that one because Maher was a jackass. But so V, but I mean, the idea that using humor on the national stage and the audience was huge, I think is really effective and painful for this monster.
It was outstanding. I think that the Obama joke really who put a nail in the coffin there. But the thing I think that is happening online that's so great is every time he does something, Kamala HQ is meeting it. And there is no one more brutal than Gen Z. And I know the kid who's running Kamala HQ and he does not miss. Okay. So when Trump tweeted last night or whatever it is, something like, is she talking about me? And Kamala HQ reposted it and was like, well, yes. I mean, even little things like that, just like meet him and take him down. The calling him weird took all the air out of the power that they felt in being called authoritarian or strong, because that's what they want to be, but they're weird. And other strong men across the world are weird too. I was at the NATO summit. Erdogan is weird. He was like picking his nose. Like he's a weird dude. So I think they're all I think she's doing an excellent job at meeting the moment, diminishing his power. And it makes it where there were Republican hecklers at the DNC. And by the end of the night, they were dead quiet because nobody's even paying attention to them. You're shouting at no one. We're all over here having fun. Join the party or don't.
Wow. Liz, what were you going to say? I mean, obviously you co-created The Daily Show. You do so much political humor.
Nothing to do with anything, but thank you.
No, but I'm saying like the idea of using comedy as a weapon is really The Daily Show is what brought into our forefront here.
Well, the one thing I wanted to say was I want everybody to understand that weird is not a Walzism. It's a Minnesota thing. Yeah. We say weird all the time. Like that is so weird. What a weird, like that is so weird. And it's sort of weird. And what you also need to know from Minnesota as you hear things is, well, that's different is our version of bless your heart.
Oh, really?
When you hear somebody say, well, that's different.
I've heard that a lot. I've
you,
heard that a
right?
lot.
I would also
They say
like to,
they
yeah,
say that they say that about Dean's act.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Well, that's
my God,
different.
really?
But what was your question? Humor playing a
Do
role?
you have a late checkout time, Pete, or do you have to leave?
I gotta
I
leave
think
in
that
7 minutes.
No, V's gotta
Look,
leave. I was looking at Pete. I was hoping him.
my standard thing that I've bitched about for years with Democrats, and I've said it over and over again, is for years, Democrats would bring a PowerPoint presentation to a knife fight. And that's why we would lose, right? I say it all the time.
Yes.
This time we are starting to bring the weapons that actually are useful in the battle. This is what all comics, every person on this show right now is a super smart person. And every person here has never felt the need to prove it because it's inherent in who you are. So you bring your humor, and then when people try to hit you with, well, is it funny or whatever, you bring the facts. And I think they're finally understanding that humor is our weapon of war, and that then we can bring the facts along with it. Obama didn't stop and pause for that joke. He did it while he was talking, and he kept it moving. And that's the kind of thing. And this is a really good thing to do on the radio. But
people see this on YouTube.
But I think that those are the kind of things that are great. And like going back to Bill Maher, just FYI for a hot second, when you're on that show, the people who excel are funny within making their points. They don't stop for a joke and go on. And again, everybody on this radio call right now is funny as they are saying the truth and telling people how they're going to do things. And to me, that use of humor on that high level of what can someone say and what can someone not say to be legitimate is simply that. Good humor done well can be woven into tragedy, explaining, and empathy, all of it. Bad humor seems so glaringly awful within a conversation. So they're doing it well. They're talking to people.
Pete's act is called glaringly awful.
You guys are always roasting each other.
It's what we do each other.
Get a room.
Sorry. What about the last thing, V, before I let you go? We'll go to a break. The TV ratings, we don't have the last night yet, but the first three, it's very clear the DNC has beat the RNC. The second night, really badly, like 20 million to 14 million. The third night, pretty good, 2 million. We're waiting for tonight's, the ratings from last night. How important is this? I mean, it's getting out there to more. By the way, about 2 million people watched on Fox News as well, which is kind of remarkable. So what do you think about that? Or does ratings not matter? You live in the world of TikTok and social media.
Yeah.
I think the ratings matter. I think we had tens of millions of impressions on TikTok throughout all the creators and the live streams and everything. So I think a lot of folks were curious and interested. They want to get to know Kamala Harris. I think it's worth noting that Trump was trying to do counter programming and nobody cared. The biggest thing that came out of his rally, because he says the same nonsense stuff all the time, was, oh, now he's appearing behind glass. But that created another point to criticize him because he does nothing about guns except put glass in front of himself. And so I think overall, people got to meet Kamala Harris. She's got to keep it up. The trad media so desperately wants her to fail. Even with today, they're like, RFK Jr. is dropping out of the race to endorse Trump. It's over for Kamala. And it's like, no, it's not. We do not care.
Over for baby bears.
We do not care. So I think the vibes are high. We're at the party. We got the direction from Michelle Obama to do something. And I think folks are leaving this week feeling patriotic. We've reclaimed camo, the flag, dads, Midwest culture, beer, all that kind of stuff. And so she took it back and we're celebrating. And I think we're going to see a lot of action in the next 74 days and hopefully our first female president.
I agree. Well, V, I want to thank you very much. V's going to take off, actually literally go on a plane and fly away.
I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Liz and Peter are going to stay. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with more of the show right after this. And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're continuing August 23rd. It is our What Just Happened, really DNC-focused event. So, Liz, I want to talk to you. They had one night about reproductive freedom, although it really seemed to be every night. They had freedom as a theme one night, but it seemed almost nightly. And I kept thinking about you. Like, what was your reaction to the way they had women up there who talked about the personal suffering, what they went through in their states, in their red states, and that they were almost died because of the red state religious supremacy law, whatever bullshit you want to call it, the horrificness of it. So what was your reaction to the way they laid it out?
Kind of my reaction to that is the way that our conversation about Gaza just was, where it's kind of like it's a really good step. in the right direction, right? But I still struggle with the desperation to find abortions that are acceptable for people. I'd like to be able to talk about abortion as a community good and understanding how it shapes all lives instead of just this tragedy thing, because I think the thing that's really important when talking about abortion, and we sometimes, when we feature those stories that are so tragic, we don't get to the part about how I got on to go with my life, right? And the tragic part is I survived, and then I got to have a child eventually, and that's a beautiful ending. But also, there's people who have abortions who go on to be, people who live their lives in many ways, right? And that it helped them, pursuing their thing. So I think that's the thing that's good. One thing that I was really happy about last night, and I've been on both of your shows talking about this, is that the Restoring Roe framework was not enough, because Roe was what got us here. And last night I noticed in Kamala Harris's speech, instead of saying restoring Roe, she said restoring reproductive freedom. And I was really happy about that, to make it understand that we need to do more. So I felt good about that. But this is the first time, let me tell you what, I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago, never mind when I launched this organization, that we would have people giving away free abortions and vasectomies and saying abortion outright and proudly, where people said the word on stage as much as they did. So I was really stoked. But,
I remember
always doing more, always pushing more.
Sure. And I think that's so important as an activist. But quick last thing though, Liz, you talked in the past about how President Biden, who personally is anti-abortion, because of his religious beliefs, didn't want to say the word abortion and was very tentative. Could you have seen this convention that we saw, the leaning into it as much, if Biden was the nominee?
No, I don't see that at all, because they would be taking direction from him. And I think that the awakening of these two candidates, because Minnesota is one of the most progressive states when it comes to access to reproductive care. It's a trans haven state. It has removed all of the barriers to accessing abortion. And Tim Walz did that because Tim Walz listened to the activists in Minnesota and to his staff, which is incredibly diverse, right? And to his fantastic lieutenant governor, my friend Peggy Flanagan. So really having him understand and coming with a fundamental understanding. Kamala Harris probably having personal views that differ from Joe Biden, to be able to say, we have been handed an issue that people are wildly passionate about, because through their own experience, their lives were saved. And what I mean by that is not just the tragic abortion, but I got to pursue my dreams because of this. And that would have never happened at a Biden convention. And it happened here because they understand it is a motivating factor. The terror that somebody feels when they're pregnant and they can't be, and if they carry that baby because of an abusive relationship they were in, their finances, the terror of their family knowing they had sex, those are small things that people carry, that 1 in 4 people who've had abortions might carry, right? That's a lot of people. And they sense that energy and they see it.
Pete, were there, you could touch on the reproductive freedom part, but were there parts of this convention you were watching and you look back now and you go, if Biden was the nominee, we wouldn't have done that. And these were actually something that was really good for us.
Every single second of this DNC, if Joe Biden was there, when he was talking, you would have been nervous. What's going to happen? Is he going to flub it? Is he going to gaffe? Is he going to say Trump instead of Kamala? And you would have been worried. It's like watching, your kid at a performance. You're worried. Are they going to forget their lines? And so it's a completely different experience. And the entire world, I'll say, much less America, is feeling differently. There's a shift, there's a paradigm shift. And that was felt, I think, obviously in the arena, but it was felt by everybody who watched it. And all I would say, in terms of women's reproductive rights, if you're not listening to Lizz's podcast, if you're a SiriusXM listener. It's an amazing podcast for a lot of reasons, Feminist Buzzkills Live. But Liz is a leader. I hate to say it, but she's an elder. And she has taught me how to think and how to talk and how to message, and given me permission to say certain things and listen to certain things. And one of the things that I've found is activism being the change you want to see is important. One of the things that you can do is listen to Liz and listen to her show and her leadership. I mean, I've had so many conversations with her. And so to be on here talking about this with her and listening to her, nitpick about language, it matters so much, because if people listen to her, we will get things done, because she's been doing it for so long. And frankly, she's always right.
And I love you. And you know what? I love you guys, because you also have me on the most, and you also are great listeners. And I think that we've done a disservice to men for a long time, just not even talking, just saying, oh, you don't get it, be quiet. And I don't think that's great. And I think, thank you, Pete. That's also so sweet. And I love you.
Yeah, but also you've also said to me off the air that you like me better than Dean. I've heard you say that a number of times.
This is ridiculous. We're going to cut this out of the show. By the way, Liz has corrected me on words and made me know. I don't even remember what they are now, because they're part of my vocabulary. When I would talk about things, Liz, on this issue, you'd say, no, that's just not the way it's said here. Because then when I thought about it, it was more effective framing. You're right. And words matter. They matter a lot in activism. They matter a lot on the radio. Pete wouldn't know this, but they matter in this kind of format, in this audio format. I'm talking about Lizz Winstead and Pete Dominick. So I wanted to, there was a lot of Republicans on the stage this week. Jeff Duncan, former lieutenant governor, Adam Kinzinger last night, Olivia Troy was there, former Trump voters. And I'm watching it. I'm like, I wonder, does this matter? No one from MAGA, so forget them. Are there conservatives? I mean, Liz, maybe you interact with some as an activist yourself. Are there people who you think would tune into the DNC who are actually conservative and see Kinzinger and hear Jeff Duncan and go, yeah, I can't vote for Trump. I just can't vote for Trump. I'm going to go vote for this. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
I am so the buzzkill on this whole thing.
No, because I don't know. I question it myself, to be honest. I'm like,
here's my hot take, which makes me no friends, but I'm just, and that is all of these people who hate Trump and were Republicans were pushing for Project 2025 was Project 2015, Project 2020. This is not a new thing. These people, these Lincoln Project-y types, these I don't vote for Donald Trump types, set a foundation in theoretical beliefs that are not far from Trump, not Trumpy, but not far from Trump.
Right.
What I would like them to do is not come to our convention and talk to our voters, but to do a concerted effort to make videos and talk to the people they convinced the Republican Party was a good idea to begin with, and get those people, talk to those people. I don't need to see videos that I think are funny, because it's been shown time and time again that these people who like Trump, that they, started that foundation, don't respond to anything we say. So you people go talk to them in their house and go do that. It's not brave to be somebody who was working for Mike Pence when Mike Pence was out here in these Indiana streets, closed down the Planned Parenthoods, defunded them. And then when an HIV crisis came through Indiana, people had to get treatment in tents because there was no Planned Parenthoods. You worked for that dude before January 6th. You would have worked for him if there wasn't a January 6th. I'm sorry. I have a really hard time coming.
Yeah, I do.
Interesting. Pete, where do you come down?
I mostly agree with Liz. I think that if you've been covering politics as long as Liz and I have, and you have, watching Adam Kinzinger, you remember him being on those oversight committees investigating Benghazi and asking terrible questions and lying and knowing he was lying, and then going on Fox News and doing it. And he's just one of them. I mean, I remember, to see Bill Kristol. I once was at a restaurant, and I was with my wife, and Bill Kristol came in and sat down next to me. Granted, I was at the Aspen Ideas Fest because, I'm very, very well liked and successful.
Yes.
And he came in and sat next to me, and I got up and left because he
asked you to?
He asked me to leave. And also he was one of the architects of the Iraq war. I couldn't eat next to him, much less see his face today. So I understand that. But I think, and I'll try to disagree just slightly, and maybe I'm not disagreeing, but I think that when a Republican goes on stage and uses the kind of language that we saw, especially if they're wearing a uniform, police officers and they're manly men, and they try to describe what it means to be a Republican and a conservative, and then differentiate between what that is and Trump is, if that helps some guy, if that breaks the fever for just a fringe of people that makes a difference in Wisconsin or Michigan, and it's 1% or less than, we need it and we'll take it. I don't know if it's worth it, but I fully agree with Liz in terms of not like making them heroes. It's the least they could do after all the lies that they spread about President Obama and stood by as that stuff happened during the Obama administration. But at the same time, I do think it makes a difference.
I think it could. I mean, that's, if you talk to Rick Wilson or others, Lincoln Project, they've made their whole life now defeating Trump. But it's also interesting, like,
That's an ideology. I mean, good for you.
right, they're concerned.
Like if it was Jeb Bush or John Kasich,
they would have been
or
right.
they would be with them. And and those people. I mean, I've had this conversation with Rick Wilson. I was like, your dude, you work for John Kasich. That guy tried to strip out unions. That guy signed a bill to end funding for abortion.
What did they do? What did those Republicans do after Sandy Hook? End of
Nothing. Right.
No.
And that's, I remember talking to Tara Setmeyer, who I like Tara personally. And then we were talking about how much she's against Trump and all. And then we veered into something about guns. And all of a sudden the right-wing person showed up there. I'm like, what are you doing?
Dean,
like,
I'm glad you mentioned her, because I will never forget being on CNN with Tara Setmeyer. Maybe it's 2013. And I'll never forget, because I got in trouble at CNN. I was working there. I was on opposite her and we were talking about climate change, and she was saying it's a hoax. And I said on air, you shouldn't invite this person. You should not invite this person on your show.
Wow.
And I got in trouble.
No, because the point, because my point is on guns, she was like, wait, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because in my mind, I thought, oh, she must agree with me. She's seen the light and she sees, no. So they really are concerned. Anna Navarro now, right? So it's kind of, all right. So let's talk about, you mentioned, I think, Liz, a short time ago, RFK Jr. dropping out. We don't know if he's going to endorse Donald Trump or not, but he's been backed by MAGA from day one, from the same funders. Steve Bannon praised him, Roger Stone praised him, all these guys. But I do wonder, when you look at the math, can it make a difference? Do you think it matters at all, Liz? You think in a battleground state, if he endorses Trump, does it matter? It's all speculative. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just a gut feeling.
I honestly don't know. I honestly, if it's just another crackpot for Trump who's got some name recognition. I mean, this is how bad Robert Kennedy Jr. is. There's been Kennedys who like drown a girl in a car. There's been Kennedys who were like called up on rape charges. And the Kennedy family never issued a public statement vilifying their behavior. This is the first Kennedy where the families come out and said, this person is a royal douchebag. So how bad does this guy have to be? When they're like, should we make a statement because, Teddy drowned that girl? Nah, we're just going to let that go. Should we make it? No, but this one's a mess. So I don't really know. I don't know, but like, I don't know if you guys, there was a little, last week got lost in the shuffle of the stuff where he was in his backyard with his like yard guru, and he was covered in ladybugs that were all over his yard, just sitting there with ladybugs all over his face, talking about organic pesticides, which I totally agree with. Organic, not pesticides, but like organic, getting rid of pests. But like, he's a mess. So if he endorses Trump, I guess he just run ads being like, go ahead,
Pete. That was a great point, Liz, you made, though. Go ahead.
Liz didn't make the most important point, is that's a therapy he believes in. Ladybug therapy. It kills COVID.
That's what it does. No,
I read a line yesterday in the news that said RFK Jr.'s campaign volunteers are outraged that he's going to drop out. And I laughed because they're RFK's volunteers, they're supporters. And the answer to your question, I think, is no. I don't think he pulls anybody anywhere that matters. I just don't. I think they're all going to go to Trump. I think they're all crazy.
Well, that's actually meaningful. If he gets 3% in a state like, look, I look at the polling in the battleground state, he has 3 and 4%. If 3 and 4, I don't think all 3 and 4% go to Trump.
How many people care? How many
Makes
people,
the
how many
ground.
women care more about, how many women are more interested and concerned with vaccines? I mean, anti-vax than women's reproductive rights. Like, I just don't know who there's no undecideds. And RFK, I just can't see how he's going to make a difference. He's such a transparently hollow barrel.
I
He's
would also
JD
want to
Vance.
point out something apropos of nothing, but it's funny.
Go ahead.
So we're all over these DC streets in these pill costumes, right? And we just got slapped. Breitbart, Fox, everybody's like out of their minds. But the greatest hate comment we got was, they look like they're vaccinated.
They look like they're vaccinated. This is the piece of, so last thing is actually forward looking because it's the next big event in this campaign, September 10th, a debate between Harris and Trump. I think it happens now. I'm pretty sure it will happen. And look, the last debate was the most significant debate in the history of presidential debates. It led to President Biden dropping out. This won't be that significant, but I think it could be. What do you think, Liz? I mean, how important do you think this is? I know corporate media will make it like the biggest thing in the world, but I got to wonder, meaningfully, does it, if Vice President Harris does a good job like we believe she did, and to remind people, against Mike Pence, all the polling showed people thought she won, so I think she'll win this. That's the next big jumping off, another bounce in the campaign, right? A week before early voting begins in Pennsylvania. I think it could be vitally important.
I think it's going to be great. The one thing I hope she does is, as comics, you know how when we jump on a heckler too fast and then we can look like the bad guy, right? I hope that they really train her to give him enough rope so that when she comes hard, it is absolutely justified every single time. Let him keep talking, have a thing where it's like, get her face, do that, but like really coming in when like doing that. Cause I think a lot of times politicians, they have their zingers ready and then they'll say them and it doesn't meet them. It's too hard for the moment instead of being just right at the moment. So it's like the hard ones do hard, medium, and the small do.
Yeah,
what do you think?
It's a great point. I mean, Kamala Harris has dealt with so many much stronger, much smarter men than Donald Trump. I would point to her work on the Judiciary Committee, specifically her questioning of Brett Kavanaugh and the former Attorney General Bill Barr, and she made them both look like silly gooses. And Donald Trump's not nearly as smart or as tough as them, and it's a debate atmosphere. And I think what you can't predict, they're gonna have her so ready, as Liz said, for sometimes just being quiet and let him hang himself with his own words. But what's going to happen is, going back to my comment earlier about Trump is so intimidated by being against a black woman. Or a woman, we can look back at his, what happened with Hillary, but she's such a different person, and that was such a different race. He is going to be so flustered, and he's going to make such weird faces. And those are the kind of things that you don't write about and you don't think about and you can't measure, but you can feel. It's going to be cringe for everybody watching because he's going to be so uncomfortable getting his ass handed to him by a woman, much less a black woman.
I would like her to just calmly, every time he mispronounces her name, to say, it's Kamala.
Yeah.
Just like,
and I'm talking.
Right. I hope that they come up with something. She can't fact check all of his lies. That she'll have no time to answer.
Oh.
But you remember Reagan did the famous line, "There he goes again," that kind of thing. I don't know. I wish she could come up with something just like like a little indicator, like that's a lie, just lie. Like, I don't know what it's going to be. They'll have to come up with
what would be
the
cool?
focus group. What would it be?
What would be cool is if she said in her opening remarks, blah, 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 he's known to lie. I can't cover all of his lies, but if you're following this on Twitter, Kamala will be correcting every single one of these lies.
Oh, that's probably the best. Good answer,
That's
Liz.
a great idea.
All right, excellent.
In real
Liz,
time.
so but we're out of time. Liz, if people want to listen to Feminist Buzzkill live or find your work, where can they go, my friend?
You can just find Feminist Buzzkills wherever you get your podcasts. You can find Abortion Access Front's work at Access Front across all platforms. You can find me personally at Lizz Winstead, and you can look for some fantastic work we're doing around the Comstock Act in the month of October. It's going to be Comstocktober, and we're going to be educating people profoundly on that.
I look forward to it. And my friend Pete, what about you? Where can they sign up for Stand Up for Pete Dominick and your other work?
I do a daily show, and I have the best news recap every morning, and that's what I'm pushing right now. I've got great guests, always have had great guests, and I have great guests every day, the smartest people I can find, including both of you. even though Dean talked to me last time, but
Out of the blue, you asked me. I couldn't do it. Sorry.
it was short notice. I apologize. But every day, it's there every day. Standupwithpete.com, Stand Up with Pete Dominick, anywhere you get your podcast. But more importantly, listen to Lizz's podcast because it's actually really, really great.
Sign up for both of them. Join Pete's Patreon. You support Pete Dominick. He's a really good guy. Are you going to be in DC?
You know, just to mention, I'm going to all the swing states and I need money. So definitely, I'm just funding the whole thing myself. Yeah, I am.
Minnesota? Are you coming to Minnesota?
I'm going to not all, I should have said. I'm going to Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, and of course, Pennsylvania.
Important states. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate after a long week, the DNC.